with questions. 2, 1. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Today is Friday, March 13th. That's right, Friday the 13th, 2020. My name is Jeremy, and this is my first cup of coffee. Ah, man. Right on. Well, we made it to Friday. If you're watching this, you made it to Friday. I don't know. This was a crazy week. What was that meme that was going around between full moon and something else and Friday the 13th, and I think Mercury's still retrograde and all this? Talk about chaos. This was a chaotic week. We got people dying from coronavirus and the stock markets and in the basement. Everybody's losing their mind. I just hope everything's gonna be okay. I'm not gonna lie, I'm concerned. I'm not concerned so much about the illness. I'm concerned about people's collective reaction and the impact that is already having and how that might get worse. You know that old saying, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself? I'm afraid of everyone's fear. Frank says it was crazy at the store. For those of you who don't know, Frank works at a grocery store, and so he gets to see this very honest cross-section of humanity. I mean, everybody goes to the grocery store. It doesn't matter how much money you make, right? You see everybody at the grocery store. I was at the grocery store yesterday, and it was also crazy. I did not go down the toilet paper aisle because I didn't need any. Everything else seemed to be in adequate supply. But what I found intriguing was that people at the store were buying more than normal. And there were more people than normal. And this was even with more cashiers, more lines open than normal. Yeah, people are scared. And it looks like people at all levels are getting infected. We did put out a Thursday episode yesterday. There was an error. I recorded something quickly. It went out. It should have been revised by now with better editing. I did a real quick edit myself, sent it over to Julius. But after posting it, I apologized. I said, hey, this is what happened. A couple people asked, why have you not done anything on this illness and how it impacts us as martial artists and schools and whatever. And I thought about it, honestly. It was the first subject that I was going to record about because, let's face it, it's pretty topical. But I chose not to. And there's a pretty solid reason why. My opinion doesn't matter. I can tell you, what I would do in my school if I had one. I could tell you what other people are doing in their schools. But none of it comes from any kind of qualified medical background. Being who I am and being that I host a podcast and this show and I've written some books, people tend to hold my opinion in high regard, which I appreciate. That really means a lot to me. But I need to be really careful about what I say for that reason. And if I was to come out and say, you should close your school, and people did that, I wouldn't feel okay with that. Because why my opinion, right? If I said, no, it's fine, stay open, and someone got sick, I wouldn't feel okay with that either. So instead of trying to navigate a very difficult subject, I would rather let the actual experts tell us what to do, and I will continue to supply information about martial arts. Um, I'm aware that there are times that I step out of martial arts and talk about other things, but I'd like to think that in those cases, I'm not. My opinion does not put people at risk. So, yeah. If you do have a martial arts school, I would encourage you to start putting together some video content for people who don't want to come in or people who get sick. I'm seeing a number of schools. I saw at least 2 schools yesterday just on Facebook, just from personal friends, announcing that they were opening their doors during the day for essentially older child daycare for parents who had to continue to work in districts where schools were closed. And I think that's great. It's a wonderful opportunity. Um, there's some risk to it. It's not something I would advise for or against, but it's something you might want to consider if you have a school. Could be a opportunity economically, and yeah, you have a chance to serve the community. So think about it. Now what's going on Friday? Client coaching CrossFit because one of the owners of the gym who was scheduled to coach this evening is part of Vermont's response team to coronavirus. And she said, I'm really overwhelmed. Can someone take my classes? So I was not going to. And then the tournament that the team is going to be at this weekend was canceled. So I said, yeah, because I don't have to get ready for anything. And I think that this is how it's going to be for a while. I'm going to continue to do this show. You know, I almost feel guilty is not the right word. I feel a little insensitive, very small amount, because this hasn't affected me. I hope it doesn't affect me. I hope it doesn't affect us. I hope it doesn't affect anyone I know, but it's going to. And so I'm watching what's happening to people and I feel terrible. Maybe it's a little bit of premature survivor's guilt, right? But it's business as usual at Whistlekick. We're going to keep buying stuff. We're going to keep selling stuff. We're going to keep making stuff. We're going to keep creating stuff. We're here for the martial arts community, however we can help. You can probably hear it in my voice if you've been watching the show. I feel better. I'd say this is the first day that I'm better. I was coughing last night. I was congested yesterday. I'm good. No coughing, no sneezing, no congestion. I feel good. I feel rested. I feel physically good. And maybe I'll actually get to work out. I haven't worked out in a week. So I've been doing a little bit at home and, of course, kicking stuff all over the place. But now it's time for questions and comments. And if you want to ask a question or leave a comment, make sure you drop it below and I'll answer it on Monday. All right, here we go. The joke for Funday Friday, courtesy of Frank. Chuck Norris was once bitten by a rattlesnake in the desert, and after 3 days of pain and agony, the snake died. All right. And we have 3 quotes today from Jackie Kennedy, Jackie Onassis. Our culture will become like it was during the medieval times when there truly was a cultural elite. The rest of the people will just watch television, which will be their only frame of reference. Now, I'm not sure when she said that. does seem a bit foreshadowing, doesn't it? She didn't say that in the last year or two. That's what we seem to do. And television is morphed. Television is morphed into things like this. I don't pretend that this show or our following is anything massive, but there are people out there who have tens of millions of people paying attention to their live feeds and their social media. It's the new television. It's the behind the scenes of life from people. Cultural elite. Is that Hollywood? I mean, it's no secret that we see a furthering divide between haves and have-nots. I won't speak on that any more than that, because that's an objective figure that we can verify. To go further takes it political, and I won't do that. But that quote, that cultural elite, reminds me of the Hunger Games. If you've read those books or seen those movies, this idea that there's a group, a district that has more authority and resources and fame. Number 2. We should all do something to right the wrongs that we see and not just complain about them. I would like to dedicate this quote to everyone on Facebook. We should all do something to right the wrongs we see, and not just complain about them. We seem to feel, as a society, that complaining about something publicly and engaging in conversation is productive. It's not. If you were to take all of the complaining happening on Facebook, take any political issue, and I will not even suggest one, pick one. Take all of the complaining that happens and find a way to put that in a pile. Put that over here. That's on one side. And then if one person wrote one letter to one company or politician in the other side, that single letter has more of an impact. The wasted time, the wasted energy, the cast aside friendships and family relationships that come from this complaining is utterly ridiculous. And I'll be honest, I struggle to see how people don't see that. I don't get it. Frank says amen to that. How do people not see that they are wasting so much of their time and their energy on something that is not impacted by that time and energy? All we have is that time and energy. Why are you throwing it away? If you were to take all of that time and money, or if you were to take all that time, and instead of complaining, you could sign up for a service like Rev and transcribe things and make 50 cents a minute doing it. You could take that money and donate it to the cause that you're complaining doesn't have enough money. There are so many ways that you can be impactful without spending more time, just the same amount of time. But what I think it is that complaining that we do makes us feel superior. We feel like we've contributed, and that's all we have to do. And there are people who will ask me, Jeremy, why don't you talk more about political issues, or why? I've been very public. I don't vote. I haven't voted in the last couple of elections. Jeremy, why aren't you more involved with it? Because I spend my time and my energy working on things that have a more direct impact that I believe are more likely to achieve an end result that I believe in. I don't not vote. I'm not going to go there. No, we're gonna skip that. Forget I said any of that, because I can't go into this without being political, and I really work hard not to be publicly political. Just know that I do stay informed. I pay attention to a lot of things, and would venture to say that I am more informed on what is happening in society and politically than at least 75% of the population who does vote. So it's not apathy. Once you can express yourself, you can tell the world what you want from it. All the changes in the world, for good or evil, were first brought about by words. Let's say it again. Once you express yourself, you can tell the world what you want from it. All the changes in the world, for good or evil, were first brought about by words. Almost seems to counter the last comment, doesn't it? But it doesn't. Because it's meant to say, okay, if you're going to complain, follow it up. If you're going to say something is unjust, work to right it. If there's a goal you have, hey, I'm going to do this, and then go do it. Follow through. It's important. In the consulting work that I do, a huge amount of my time is spent coaching people, helping people see their opportunities and prompting them for follow-up. I work with people who identify this is the goal, okay, and we come up with a path to the goal, okay, and they see that the steps on that path don't have to be that big. Maybe it's 15 minutes here, 30 minutes there. And then we'll check in 2 weeks later and they haven't taken a step. You haven't found 15 minutes in the last 2 weeks? Oh, I've been really busy. Bullshit. Anybody who tells me that they can't find 15 minutes in 2 weeks is lying. And I tell them so. I'm a little nicer than that. Our time reflects our priorities. Frank says, focus on your circle of influence and your circle of concern will expand. Good. Yes, I like that. So in the case of the client who doesn't find 2 weeks or 15 minutes in 2 weeks, it's one of a couple things. It's not understanding what they need to do, or in many cases, it's a fear of success. Far more people have a fear of success than I think we would ever imagine. Every single person has the ability to succeed, to achieve their goals. Unless your goal is becoming, supreme ruler of the universe, and for any of my fellow Marvel nerds out there, if your goal is to become Thanos, I can't help you get there. But if your goal is to, earn $1 million and have a successful martial arts school, or to be the best whatever, you can do that. That's not that hard. It requires time, and it requires dedication and consistency and sacrifice, but it's achievable. And you can do it. But are you ready for what that means? Look at the psychology of lottery winners. Most of them go broke. They win tens or hundreds of millions of dollars, and in a few years they're bankrupt. It's because they didn't work for it, because they don't feel they deserve it. By not working for it, they know that something's off. Seems like a great idea. So what are you working for? What are your goals? What are you trying to achieve, and what are you doing to get there? All too often people start from where they are now, and they forget about where they're trying to go. Focus on where you're trying to go and work backwards. If let's say I'm gonna sail across the Atlantic Ocean. I'm gonna sail from New York to London. Once I get out of the harbor, how picky do I have to be about the angle that I take to get to London? I can sail all the way down to Antarctica and come back up. Might not be the most efficient path, but I'm still moving forward. And maybe I sail down there and go, whoop, too far. Let's correct course. But I eventually get there. And I can't know that that's the wrong place unless I know where I'm going. So, I'm going to give you slightly different homework because I haven't given you any homework this week. And normally I don't do homework on Fridays, but I think this is important. I want you to pick a goal. I want you to pick a big goal, one that's important to you. I want you to write it down. I want you to write it down as if you've already achieved it. I successfully sailed to London from New York. And I want you to sit with that this weekend. I want you to think about it. I want you to look at it. I want you to read it. Read it out loud. Tape it to your bathroom mirror. And I want you to start thinking about not the first step to get there, but the last step. If I want to sail to London, I have to get to this point. Then I have to get to this point. And here's the thing, as you work backwards from that, the steps to get there become easier. When you focus on that big goal and the big steps that have to happen at the end, they seem insurmountable because you're not at the step before it. The idea of climbing Mount Everest when you're at base camp seems impossible. But it's even more impossible when you're in Vermont. By getting there, you're that much more likely to take the next step. It's all steps. It's all little steps. Nobody becomes a black belt overnight. Nobody goes home and has to learn, all these forms and all these techniques and master them. No, we give you progress markers, belts, or titles, or whatever. And as you take those steps, you become not only closer to your goal, but you become appropriately positioned to take the next step. Those steps aren't randomly placed, they're cumulative. So if you work backwards from that big lofty goal that you have, you can get there. You just have to look at the steps. So, a little bit different today. Hope you liked it. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I'm not doing you know what I'm doing this weekend? We should be filming the videos, which are the last step before the strength and conditioning program comes out. That's happening Sunday. Shouldn't be a whole lot of editing for those because the standard that we're setting is pretty low. Just need to get something out there to make sure people know what the movements are. That's the big thing happening this weekend. A couple other things, time with friends and whatnot. But, yeah. Now, for those of you who might be new to First Cup, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications. We do the show every weekday morning, 6:30 a.m. Eastern. You can catch it later as a podcast as well. If you want to ask a question, drop it below or comment, whatever it is. I'll answer it the next day. Go check out Martial Arts Radio. Check out everything at whistlekick.com. If you buy something, use the code whistlekick. Throw us a few bucks a month and you'll get even more stuff. There's always more. So I hope you have a fantastic day, wonderful weekend, and I will see you back here on Monday. Take care. Peace.